WFM 91.7.
It's past 12 on Your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. And you're welcome on this conversation today. Today, on The Big Question, we're looking at 5 years of broken promises, Leah Sharibu. My name is Esther Alaribe. You're welcome to join the conversation as we get to deliberate on this. A little background into this. Leah Sharibu, born on May 14, 2003. Leah Sharibu has spent 5 years and 1 day today in captivity after being kidnapped on February 19, 2018 by Boko Haram terrorist group as they attacked the government girls' science and technical school in Dapchi, Yobe State in Nigeria, abducting 110 girls. Now, according to reports, 104 of the victims were later released. 5 died in captivity. 5 years later, we still get to ask, where is Leah Sharibu, the last of the 110 girls captured? Leah's abductor reportedly refused to release her on the grounds that she refused to denounce her faith. Despite numerous promises by the government to rescue and bring back Leah, we haven't heard any news of Leah's return. Today on Women Radio 91.7, we'll be lending our voice to call for Leah's release and remind the federal government of its promise to bring back Leah Sharibu as she remains with her abductors without a clue as to how she is faring. My name is Esther Alaribi, and my panelists today as we get to discuss Leah Sharibu 5 years of broken promises. Asma Obenz is Leo, gender and development expert and also the executive director of Center for Non-Violence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria. I also have Dr. Abiola Akiodiafolabi, executive director, Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center. Dr. Gloria Samdi Podo, executive director, Leah Sharibu Foundation, and also Emmanuel Ogebe, an international human rights lawyer, as we get to discuss today. You can listen live at the website www.wfm917.com. Download the mobile app to listen live, WFM 917. Do well to send in your comment, contribute to the conversation this afternoon as we get to call for the safe release of Leah Sharibu. 070-317 56537 to be a part of the conversation today. And you can also join us on our Twitter space, WFM 917, as we go into this conversation this morning. Yes, Dr. Gloria Podu, thank you for joining us this morning. Yes, we have all our speakers ready this morning as we get to speak to our panelists as we discuss Leah Sharibu, 5 years of broken promises. Once again, my name is Esther Alaribi, and this morning we're speaking to Asma Obenz, gender and development expert, executive director, Center for Non-Violence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria. And I also have Dr. Abiola Akiodiafolabi, executive director, Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center. Dr. Gloria Samdi Podo, executive director, Leah Sharibu Foundation, and Emmanuel Ogebe, international human rights lawyer, as we get to deliberate on this Leah Sharibu 5 years of broken promises. Yes, I've been able to give a background to this as to why we're having this conversation 5 years and 1 day on, and we're still discussing getting Leah Sharibu back home to her parent. Yes, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you, Dr. Podu, for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Podu. Thank you for joining us. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Abiola Akiodiafolabi. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you so much. And also, Asma Obenz is Leo. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
The pleasure is mine, Esther. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Emmanuel Ogebe, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you. And apologies for the technical hitch. And I'm glad we're better now. And yes, we can kick the conversation in. Dr. Podu, I'm starting with you. How is Rebecca? How is Leah's mother? 5 years, her daughter is still in captivity. How does she feel about this?
Well, for every mother, it will be a very sad moment. And for Rebecca, she had been in pains, especially with the fact that she is reminded that her daughter is still there 5 years down the lane. We had the family have a very quiet one, and for Rebecca, it's even double pains because her mother, it's not feeling fine. So she is taking care of her mother, and then this day has also come and dawned on her that her daughter is there for 5 years. So it's double pains for her. But the hope is that, one day she will see her daughter because people are praying for her all over.
Okay. So you had the session for her yesterday. What kind of words did you have to say to her mother? Because holding up for 5 years and knowing that every year comes and you still get to talk about, I don't want to call it celebration, you still get to talk about this anniversary. How was she able to manage it yesterday with what you've mentioned also?
Yes, the words that we told her is that, Rebecca, the entire world is praying for you. both Christians and non-Christians, whoever hears the story of your daughter, everybody gets emotional and feels pains for you. And so the hope that you have been holding on, hanging on, just continue to hang on. And just know that God does not make mistakes. He knows exactly what he is doing. And at the moment that he wants your daughter to come out, he will come out. So the moment we encourage her with the word of God, that brings peace. And she even encourages us with the words that I know I'm holding on.
Good to know she's holding on. Thank you so much, Dr. Podu. A smile coming to you. 5 years of Leah's abduction and we're still holding on to broken promises. 5 good years. Why?
Thank you very much for this question. The question why is on everybody's mind today. The question is why. And it's not just for you, but for every Nigerian. Why is Leah still there? We have to look at, is it based on the failure of governance? Is it that the security apparatus or all other things put in place have not adequate enough to rescue this girl? What is the problem? Is it that we don't have adequate intelligence report on the whereabouts of Leah? Or is it just that we don't have the interest and the political will to pursue the rescue of this young woman? That is the question. And I tell you the truth, this question will continue to linger on our minds till the right thing is done. Leah deserves to come home. Leah, like every other child we know, her innocence has been taken away from her. She has been traumatized. I can imagine what the mother is going through. When you ask Dr. Gloria about the feeling of the mother, I just positioned myself in Leah's mother's position. I position myself in the footsteps of the mother to think that a child you give birth to 5 years down the line, you don't even know what is happening. I'm not even sure that the mother gets a kind of feedback from time to time on the progress made on trying to rescue her daughter. So we still have to have this question hanging on our minds. Why is she there? And I don't think I have the answer right now to give you, Esther, on why she's still there. But if I may say in few words, I think there is a failure on the side of somebody, whether an individual, an institution, or a group of people that have failed to do their work at the right time and when it was needed. That is why we are sitting down here to say why. And that why, we need to get an answer sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asmao. Yes, Asmao is saying that if only she has the answer, then who then has this answer? Where is Leah Sharibu? All right. Dr. Abiola, after looking at all of this, 5 years and 1 day, are we really exploring all options available for the release of Leah Sharibu? Dr. Abiola, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So okay.
Let me start by thanking. Let me first start by thanking Women's Radio for bringing this up every year. I think Women's Radio is one of the organizations that has been very consistent on this issue. I wish the government is as consistent as you are, because if they are, I'm sure by now we would have Leah Sharibu back in our midst. It's unfortunate that I'm not even sure whether they remember the day, which actually goes to the will that Asmao is talking about, whether the government that is expected by virtue of the Constitution to secure the lives and property of this country, it's really doing enough, to be able to do that. Yes, well, we recognize that there's terrorism all over the world, but there are ways that these issues are dealt with. And I want to use today also not to remember Leah Sharibu, since we are doing this today, but also for us to remember the huge number of girls, girls from other places, that are still being held, at different places, by Boko Haram and other terrorists. And the fact is that the country is becoming very ungovernable, and it looks like the people that are supposed to protect us are not really, doing the needful. And I imagine for the parents of Leah Sharibu and also other girls and boys that are still being held in this manner, they are asking the question, do we really have a government? Is the government really doing enough? Is there anything we need to know that we don't know? And of course, that also goes to the fact that you don't even get the information. In other places, there will be a feedback, to the people on how far they've gone, whether they have reached out to anything. And it's like, where Sharibu went, and we didn't really hear much. So I can imagine how the parents are feeling. Because in some culture, like Yoruba culture, they will say it's better to have a child dead than a child that becomes missing. So this is a big situation, because if a child is dead, there is closure. But if a child is missing, you are tormented, you are tortured on a daily basis. So in this instance, the child is missing, so they are going through a lot of torture, a lot of torment, and they need answers on a daily basis. And this answer is not getting to them. So they are going through torture. And we, as citizens also, we are also in the same torture with them, in solidarity with the parents of Leah Sharibu and the other girls that are at large.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Abiola, for that. Yes, we're asking, what is the government doing about this? How are we sure that solutions, actions, activities are being put in place to secure the release of Leah Sharibu? Today we're deliberating and having a panel discussion on Leah Sharibu, 5 years of broken promises. My name is Esther Laribe, and I have our panelists this afternoon as we get to have this conversation. I have Asma Benzislio, Gender and Development Expert, Executive Director, Center for Nonviolence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria. I also have Dr. Abiola Akiodi-Afolabi, Executive Director, Ward C, Dr. Gloria Poudre, Executive Director, Leah Sharibu Foundation, and Emmanuel Ogebe, International Human Rights Lawyer, as we get to have this conversation today. You can join us on Twitter Space, WFM917. Send us your comments, your contributions, 070-317-56537, and we'll be sure to take all of your messages. Now, Emmanuel, coming to you, I know that you've been having different write-ups, statements, release you get to put out, doing a lot in demanding for the safe release of Leah Sharibu and other girls in captivity. What do you think is causing this pushback? I think you need to unmute yourself, okay?
Yes. Yeah, I want to thank you for keeping this issue alive in the national consciousness in Nigeria. It is particularly encouraging because you are a Lagos-based station, and things happening in the north tend to be ignored by things happening by people in the south. I never forget I was going to the airport in Lagos to fly back to the U.S. where I was based, and on the radio station, callers were denying the reality of the Chibok abductions. And that is how disconnected most parts of the country are to the reality of what is happening in northern Nigeria. But let me point out a couple of things. The reason that Leah has not been brought back is related to governance. And let me illustrate this by one point. If we had more women in government, in places of influence, they would be more compassionate and passionate about Leah. Remember that she's from northern Nigeria, where women are treated as second-class citizens and Christians are treated as second-class citizens. So a Christian woman and a girl is almost fourth class in the order of priority. So she really is not a priority to that part of the country. Now, some years ago, a minister in this government told me that as the anniversary of Chibok was approaching, she contacted the president and said, "Mr. President, what are you doing for the upcoming anniversary of the Chibok abductions?" And the president said, "I don't have any plans. What do you want to do?" And the president told her, "All right, go and visit the families." So it took a woman in an appointed position into the cabinet to even remind the president that these families are suffering, we should go and reach out to them. Sad to say that minister has since left the cabinet and the country. And so, like you asked earlier, we don't even know if this government is cognizant of the fact that yesterday was the 5th anniversary of her abduction. Let me point out that Chibok was 9 years ago, and 96 girls are still missing. The difference between Chibok and Dapchi are primarily two. One is that Chibok happened in a previous administration, and the Buhari campaign used it to ride into power. And then now that they're in power, Dapchi happened under them, and Leah was taken under them. So not only did they not resolve Chibok, but they created more abductions. More people have been abducted, more students and women and girls have been abducted in the last 3 years of this administration than the entire 5 years of Jonathan Goodluck's administration. So kidnapping has gone from the activity of non-state actors and violent extremist groups to a mass cottage industry across the nation. At this point, virtually every Nigerian knows someone, a family member, a friend, or a co-worker who has been abducted. You are within 5 degrees of separation of somebody who has been abducted. It has now become the reality of us as a nation. But back to the issue of Leah. What makes the second difference between Chibok and this is that the Nigerian government was able to recover all of the abducted girls except one. And that tells you that they don't need any additional intelligence to know how to recover her. The mere fact that they could recover all the other girls means that they had the capacity and the opportunity to bring Leah, and they failed. And the only reason she's not back is because she is a Christian girl in northern Nigeria.
Okay, so Emmanuel, when you say that the only reason why effort has not been made to bring back Leah Sharibu is because she is a girl and a Christian in northern Nigeria, don't you think that this would just be giving into the speculations that people in the north kind of look at Christians a certain way? Because Leah is a Nigerian child that has her rights, and the government should be able to facilitate her release. But if we tie it into what you've just said, don't you think this will be negating everything that's been done? Because let's look at it. Other girls were also abducted, and they were also released. So is there something else we need to be talking about on Leah's case?
We cannot bury our heads in the sand like an ostrich. Let me tell you that a lot of people are not aware. When the Dapchi abductions occurred, I sent our human rights investigators to go and investigate. Within 48 hours, they told me that 39 Christian girls were in that school, and 38 of them had been recovered or had escaped, and only one was abducted. And they told me her name was Leah. Within 72 hours of the abduction, I reached out to the mother of Leah, Rebecca, who is her stepmother, and I spoke to her and I encouraged her. 2 weeks after the abduction, I was contacted by my human rights investigators, and they told me that Boko Haram's operation was a failure, that they were hoping to get Christian girls, and that the majority of those they took were Muslim. And my investigators told me that they will release all the girls, but that Leah was not likely to come back.
So, Emmanuel, all of these facts you're putting forward, do you have evidence to back this proof to say that, yes, actually?
I have all of it. I have it in my text. And as you know, I investigated and released reports on this issue. After this show, I will send you the text where I was told that Leah will not come back. And then exactly a month later, all the other girls were brought back, and Leah did not come back. So this is the way northern Nigeria operates. As I said in yesterday's program marking the 5th anniversary, Habiba was abducted in Katsina. Her father knows the person who abducted her. It wasn't terrorists. It was their neighbor. And their neighbor has married her off to himself. The governor was called to intervene. And he said, no, let the bygones be bygones. And he's in the same village with the people who took his daughter. He can't get her back. Northern girls are abducted in Nigeria on a monthly basis in their own communities on their way to school and back, not by non-state actors like terrorists, but by average Muslim neighbors. So we need to call a spade a spade. The reason Leah is not back is because she is a Christian girl. And our investigation also showed that Boko Haram asked her to denounce her faith. And if she denounced it, she will get on the bus with the others and go. And Leah says she cannot do that. And so the others left and she remained behind. So there's no doubt whatsoever the basis on which she was held behind and the basis on which the Nigerian government has failed to recover her.
All right, Emmanuel, I'll come back to you. Dr. Podu.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. As the executive director of Leah Sharibu Foundation, I mean, you work closely with her parents, you get to interact with them. Has there been some kind of assurance, regular communication with the federal government on Leah's case with the parent?
Let me tell you how many times the government has reached out to Leah's parents.
Okay.
First of all, they reached out to Leah's parents when Leah Sharibu's video was released by Boko Haram 7 months after she was abducted. Okay. And in that video, they made her to plead to the President Muhammadu Buhari. So when we saw that video, we confirmed with the parents that is Leah, and that's Leah's voice as well. So after that, a week after or so, they released a video that they were going to kill Leah, just like they killed one of the Red Cross nurses. And with that, we quickly went out.
Yes, Dr. Podu, can you hear me?
Called Leah's mother. So that was the first time that the federal government was getting in touch with her 7 months after Leah was taken. Second time that the federal government got in touch was when, after that phone call, 2 weeks, they sent the minister, Leah Mohammed, and 2 other ministers that went to Dapchi to meet the parents. That was the second contact. The third contact was in 2021 or 2020, 2020, after COVID. I think when Pauline Talem went to visit she went to Chibok and then she came to visit them. That is the only contact since that time up till now. I speak to you, nobody communicates to them, nobody contacts them. This is the only times that they have met with them. So even as at yesterday, they don't even remember that Leah is 5 years in captivity.
So, what about all of the reports that we get to see on the dailies talking about facilitating efforts for her release? So are you saying that all of that necessarily did not happen?
If they happen, you have a family. You should communicate to the families. In fact, when you were talking earlier, you said you hope that they are communicating to the family, they are talking or reaching. Nobody is reaching out to the family. Nobody is reaching out to Leah Foundation. Nobody is reaching out to other organizations who are speaking. We are only making our noise only in televisions, only in media, social, and every other thing. When we demand to have access to Aisha Buhari, for 5 years now, we have not been able to have access to her. What about President Muhammadu Buhari? It was a governor that helped us to place a call on that day we had that press conference before President Muhammadu Buhari quickly said he wants to speak to me. So this, what are we talking about? Nobody's reaching out. They are not doing anything. So they only come out to say the presidency is doing this, the presidency is doing that. And they are just reacting to whenever we come out and make noise on the TV and demand our rights and put, to their faces that you are not doing what you are supposed to do.
All right. I hear you. Thank you, Dr. Podu, for your response on that. Okay, so Asma, what are your thoughts on the state of insecurity in Nigeria and how women and children need to be protected across the country? Because recall what Emmanuel mentioned, talking about the state of security for women and girls in the north, especially how women and girls in the north are being targeted. So what are your thoughts on that?
Thank you very much, Esther.
Yes.
The state of insecurity and then its implication on women and girls is not just peculiar to the north. But because today is a very special day, we are commemorating 5 years anniversary. Let's say 5 years of Leah Sharibu. Sorry, forgive me, I'm a bit emotional. 5 years of Leah Sharibu being in captivity. Let us narrow it down to northern Nigeria. I am a northerner, from northeastern Nigeria. I spent 12 years of my life in Maiduguri. I did my secondary school in Maiduguri, GGC Maiduguri. I did my university in the University of Maiduguri. And I am aware of whatever situation is happening around the northern part of Nigeria because I am from Adamawa State specifically. I grew up in Kano State. My parents stayed in Jigawa State, the former Kano State in Benin. So my entire life, my childhood days, I spent in the north. And I will tell you that I am conversant with the situation of women and girls even before the advent of insurgency. I can tell you when the human rights lawyer is talking about the experiences of northern minority Christians and young girls, I can testify to some of those issues he's raising because I have been a victim once. When I was in secondary school, thank God that period, there was nothing like insurgency. It was some of us who had been dead by now. I grew up a very bold, outspoken child, and I don't fear people. And I came to a school whereby I experienced a bit of discrimination based on my religion. And I know what I went through. And if my friends that we attend the secondary school will be listening to this podcast today, will bear witness to some of the issues, some of those experiences that we had when we were in secondary school. But I'm not going to be talking about personal experience. Coming back to the issue of insecurity and women. I have worked in this passion for women, peace and security did not just start today. Because I know where I'm coming from. I have worked with the government. I was the former head of gender and vulnerable group with National Emergency Management Agency for almost 5 years. I have been to the Northeast region when the insurgency was at its peak. I was always going to the field. There were times that I almost escaped being attacked or even, being in between cross lines by Boko Haram in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Sometimes because of the way I was, vocal in the civil society space, I've had times whereby I do get threats from people that if you don't shut up, if you don't do this, we will deal with you brutally. But still, that does not hinder me because you only have one life to live. And besides having just one life to live, we only say, because they said, if you see any injustice and you did not speak about it, then you are on the side of the adversary. And history will be kind to me, but I'm not on the same side with the adversary. And today, we remember Leah, and we remember many other Leahs, because we are all Leahs. The Chibok girls who are still in captivity are all Leahs. The other girls who are also, before Chibok girls, so many girls were adopted from Konduga. When I was working with them, we have data of so many of these girls that were adopted before the Chibok girls. Girls that were even going to school just to fetch what some on their way to school abducted. It's only Chibok girls that amplify these things that the world is getting to know because of the massive number of people that were abducted at the same time. If more girls were abducted on a daily basis, it was a daily occurrence. We get statistics of this thing on a daily basis. But still, what has been done? How many of them have been rescued? So today is because we are talking about Leah. And we are all Leahs. I am Leah. I will have been Leah. I left my parents in Adamawa State, came to Maiduguri, not knowing anybody in Maiduguri. I will have been a victim like Leah. But God saved me, God delivered me. So today, people, I have made up my mind that as long as I live, I'm going to be speaking. I'm not just going to be speaking for the Christian community. I am speaking for every woman based in Nigeria, across the world, that is suffering one form of discrimination or the other, whether based on religion, based on any form of ethnic or any form of sexual orientation. What I know is that justice, equity should be what should guide humanity. And coming back to Nigeria, look at what is happening. We have the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, which is the National Action Plan. How much of it has been implemented? Talking about policy issues. So we have to go down. The government has to have it to be serious to tackle this issue of insecurity and its impact on women. Women are being affected. our girls can no longer go to school. The schools that are supposed to be safe have now become target, what we call education under attack. I'm aware of the Safe School Initiative. I was part of those people that started it in 2015, 2016. The Safe School Initiative. But up to now, tell me what has been done. There was an assessment, but because they knew how critical and I'm going to be very, very instrumental in the real facts, they refused to include me in the committee that went round for the assessment. I didn't say anything because they knew some of us, if we go, there are certain things we are going to pinpoint. And so there has to be the will, there has to be sincerity on the part of the government. Okay. There has to be honesty that yes, we want to tackle this and want to tackle it headlong. As long as we play politics with people's lives and their destinies, we cannot get it right in Nigeria. And I will recommend that Nigerian government, the security sector, should live up to the expectation of the protection of lives and properties, in spite of where we are based, in spite of our religious inclination or where we are coming from. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Esmao, for your comments on that one. As long as we keep making, we're not making enough progress or not making intentional decisions in the area of safeguarding the lives of people, then we're not doing anything yet as a country. 22 minutes to 1 on Women Radio, WFM 91.7. Today we're deliberating and having a panel discussion on Leah Sharibu, 5 years of broken promises. Yes, 5 years of broken promises. My name is Esther Alaribi, and this afternoon I'm speaking to Esmao Benzis-Leo, Gender and Development Experts, Executive Director, Center for Nonviolence and Gender Advocacy in Nigeria, Dr. Abiola Akiode Afolabi, Executive Director, Ward C, Dr. Gloria Poudre, Executive Director, Leah Sharibu Foundation, and Emmanuel Ogebe, International Human Rights Lawyer. You can listen live via the website www.wfm917.com. Download the mobile app to listen live, WFM 917. You can send in your comment. 070-317-56537 is the number for you to send us a text or a WhatsApp message. Now, Dr. Abiola, I'm coming to you. We have just a few days to the 2023 presidential elections, and we haven't seen a gender-sensitive manifesto from any of the candidates. If by now, I mean, today is 20, and we're not able to see anything called gender sensitivity from the presidential candidates, do we trust that they will follow up with Leah's case?
Well, thank you very much. I'm even not sure that this is agenda. Nobody's telling us about gender in conflict issues. Well, it looks like the whole conversation is about increasing number of women and all of that. Yeah, this is very important. Now, two issues have been raised, which I think it's important to speak on to. One is the issue of the religious undertone that's surrounded with respect to Leah, and how sensitive that is, and how you would expect that, a country would respond to that. There's been other things that shows that religion is used, as a form of violence against women. So it could be a form of adoption in this regard. We know about what happened in Sokoto, and some other places that we have seen, at different times, which I think, for a country that is more so religious like this, and that's as complex for Nigeria, that the country should have done more to ensure that, we secure that right to freedom of religion and freedom of expression. And I don't think the country has done much in that regard. And so there's a foundation for what we see. There's a foundation in the year 2000, when the landscape of the legal system in Nigeria changed, and some countries, some states in the country adopted the penal code. It's also signifying the beginning, of some of this crisis that we get to see now. So I think it's deeper. It's deeper than that. And Nigeria is part of OIC, a part of, and all of that. So I think it's deeper. So there might be a deliberate attempt, to Islamize the country, but it's important that some of these issues are also discussed as a country, whether the country wants to go that way or not. So having said that, I know that there are steps that have been taken. I don't want to be emotional, so I just want to look at some of the things that have been done that we didn't also build. I am aware that there is a violence against, there is a safe school declaration that Nigeria signed on to. So now talking about schools, and the fact that schools are unsafe. And I want to say that it's not only in Borno State that schools are unsafe in the Northeast, but everywhere. So meaning that this abduction, can take place anywhere in the country, and it's taking place on a daily basis. So, within the school space now, where the case of Leah Sharibu took place. So, one would have expected that as a country, because I was looking through my documents and I realized that immediately Leah Sharibu case, the case of Dachi took place, the government, they set up a committee to investigate the abduction. As of today, Nigerians don't know what was the findings. As of today, so the question of accountability is missing. And in a country where accountability is not right, where the government don't think that they have, that people have a right, that the office of citizens is as strong, or if much more stronger, than the office of those in government. Now, where things like this happen, it is important for Nigerians to get feedback, on what did we discover? So what happened? What was the negotiation that led to the others coming back? And all of that. We didn't get that. As we speak in the country too, I'm aware that in Kebbi, because I've also been involved in that. Okay. I'm aware that in Kebbi, some young girls are still being held. 11 of them that were kidnapped from the FGC, they are still being held. The kidnappers, who probably are not, maybe they were bandits, they were asking for money. They had asked for 100 million from the Kebbi State government. And Kebbi State government had refused to give them. And that's why I'm saying, yes, while religion can be a factor, a driver, there are also instances where those who are taken are also not Christians. For example, among the 11 children, and I'll call children because I can read back to them, the 11 girls, that have been taken from FGC, that nobody is talking about. There are 5 Christians and 6 Muslim girls. So the government is just a failure, a total failure, in responding to this. Now, they have 100 million, on top of this girls, and their parents are not in the position, to bring out the money. So we're saying that the Kebbi State government does not have 100 million, to get these girls back? Or are we saying that the federal government of Nigeria does not have? Now, because the government has also encouraged, the exchange of funds as a way of rescuing people from abduction. Now, nothing is being said. There is communication with the parents that they are asking the government, and they are going to meet the state government. And the government is not doing anything. People send children to school. The government did not secure the school in such a way that children can be protected. If the federal government college school, which belongs to the federal government, and we have signed the school declaration at the international level, we went forward, because I work with them on it, to come up with a policy in the country, a national policy on safety and security and violence against children, prohibition in school. The country have it. So we're just ticking the box. We're not taking steps to ensure that schools are secure. So I ask everybody, since since the invasion of Chibok, since being and since the killing of those boys, which were the first set of people that were killed by the Boko Haram people, who were attacked before at one of the colleges, has there been any difference with what we say in schools in Nigeria? Has there been? So it's not a priority of the government. The government is not declaring that as state of the money. And there's a lot of money going into security. I think it's time for Nigerians to use their vote, to decide on the government that will be able to be beneficial for them. Because as long as we remain like this, any one of us, none of us, is immune against kidnap, is immune against terrorist attack. Even the president was attacked, on his way to Castina. So who am I? Who am I? And that's my question.
All right, Dr. Abiola, I hear you. Thank you for your submission. So I want to take you back a little bit to where you mentioned that, is it that the state government doesn't have money to pay for ransom, or the federal government? Now, what would it look like to the citizens if we hear or get to see that the government is having to pay ransom, having to negotiate with fifth columnists to get people released? How would you perceive that if you just get to hear this or get to read this in the dailies?
The government, so are they saying they're not doing it? So it's about parents, for goodness sake. The parents want their children back anyway. Anyhow, they want to do it. If the government cannot use their security apparatus to secure children as far as the parents are concerned, they want to see their children. Simple. So because the government has failed, they've been there for over how many months now? Because I'm in touch with the parents. For over how many months? They've been there for a long time, So if they've been there for that long and nothing is happening, they said, if you look at one of them, it says, cabin abduction. Parents selling property to offset. Parents are not selling their properties, to offset. And they can't make up the money. That's the truth of the matter. Because the government is not supported. So it might not sound well that the government, but if the government can't do, if it is to pay money and release it, I don't care. Let the kids be released. The government can deal with the rest. They can deal with the rest. But the kids need to be back. That's the most important. The government has failed. They don't have the security apparatus. So what do we do? Should we leave the children? So if they are naming price, which one is more important? 100 million is not too much for the Kebbi state government to do. Let them pay. That's what the parents are asking for. Pay, get our children back. Then you can deal with the security issue. So it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound okay. But where is the balance of forces? Where is the balance of forces? So should we keep the children back? So that's the issue. If that's the government, if that's the weakness of the government, if that's what the government has to do, what is important is that let's get the children back. Then the government can discuss its own security architecture, which has failed everybody. It has failed everybody.
All right. Yes, Asmao, you have your hands up. You want to make a comment to that?
Yes, just to buttress the point Dr. Abiola just made.
Okay.
Simply put, I heard of a story of a senator in one of the core Northwest states.
Okay.
And that his son was kidnapped. And I tell you, in less than 24 hours, that son was released. How?
Yes, how?
If they can, that's the question, how? So if their children can be kidnapped within, let's say, 10 hours, less than 10 hours, they will be able to rescue those children. Why not an ordinary citizen's child? So I think it's just misplaced priority because the life, like the animal farm, they will say some animals are better than others, right? All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. That is just the way we are seeing it in this country. Just to buttress what she said. So priority should be given to the lives of everyone, in spite of. So if it means that they can give certain millions of naira to rescue their children, they should also do so because their parents are taxpayers. They are also Nigerians. So life should be prioritized.
All right. Thank you so much, Asmao.
I'm sorry, sis.
Okay.
And the point that they are paying for inefficiency. That's what they're paying for. Inefficiency.
All right. So we have this comment here from somebody who chooses to be anonymous. This person says, it is very unfortunate that Leah has not been released. I could remember when the news broke out about Boko Haram releasing others and keeping her. At that time, it was said that they did that to just spark some kind of religious war. Now that their mission has failed, why are they still holding on to Leah Sharibu? We have another message here. This one is from Angela in Ikeja. It says, this conversation on Leah Sharibu, every single year it breaks my heart. I'm glad that Women Radio never forgets to do something on Leah Sharibu. But how many Nigerians remember? Look at all of our presidential candidates, everybody going around talking about what they are set to do without proper planning. Why are women groups not engaging them on this? Somebody will come and go into office and nothing still will happen. All right. Thank you for your text and WhatsApp messages. Keep them coming in on 070-317-56537. Yes, Emmanuel, what do you think about, Dr. Abiola has made her comment, as well as also made her comment on the government having to intensify efforts to seek for the release of these girls, especially Leah Sharibu, as we're having the conversation today. And I'm having to say that won't that be some kind of negotiation with this fifth columnist, people who don't want peace in the country? What do you think about that?
Well, you see, the bottom line is this, as Gloria and others have stated, promises were made that should be brought back.
Okay.
And they failed to bring them back. So, they need to be held accountable. Leah is part of the unfinished business of the Buhari administration. Buhari said that if all the Chibok girls were not brought back, that is failure. This Dapchi abduction happened on his watch, and Leah is not back. That is the father of all failures. especially because he showed that he had the capacity to bring back the Muslim girls. Why can't he bring Leah back? Now, let me be very clear. Leah's captivity is literally a symbol of our captivity as a nation to strange interests. Why? But while we have the option next weekend to free ourselves, Leah does not have that option. Our investigation showed that Leah escaped twice. The first time she escaped with 2 other girls. Unfortunately, they were on an island she didn't know. And she ended up with some Fulanis who returned her to Boko Haram. Then the 2 girls that she escaped with were released to the federal government and she was left behind. That tells you that Leah has a desire for freedom. She wants to come out. And of course, we heard her proof of life audio recording where she spoke and she said to us that we should take care of her family. And that was one of the things we did. I reached out, I brought the mother. I had brought the mother to Abuja and given her medical attention before Leah's video came out. So we were happy that we were in tune with her in the spirit and we're doing what she has to do. Later on, we decided to trace additional 5 family members and found that she has 6 living siblings. And all of those are still there. So it's not just her stepmother, Rebecca, that is suffering. The 6 living siblings are also suffering. And we as a nation have not stood there for them. And so I'm throwing out this challenge to General Buhari. Leah was free before you came into office. As you are leaving office, bring Leah back. It is that simple. It's not very complicated. Whether you paid money or you asked Boko Haram in a gentleman's agreement, according to Lai Mohammed, to return them, use that same gentleman's agreement or the ransom to bring Leah back. It's one girl. What could be so difficult in doing that?
What could be so difficult in bringing back one girl, Leah Sharibu, back? We have this comment here, this one from Mr. Innocent in Wawan. He says, good afternoon, WFM and the panel. Keeping Leah Sharibu in captivity by her abductors and forgetting her by the Nigerian government is a deliberate action to ridicule the Christian community. She was abducted by this terrorist group and she was abandoned by the president and authors of government. In a state where the lives of citizens matter more than religion, the government should have spent more time in facilitating the release of Leah Sharibu. Things fall apart and the center can no longer hold. We have this message here. This one is from Rosen Jemuti, and it says, Nigerian leaders from 1960 till date have failed Nigerians, and it has gotten worse by each administration. There seems to be no time. The country is no safe as we get to hear one bad news or the other right from 1960. Nigerians, saying like this, we go today. This question, Nigerians, saying like this, we go today. We need a change. All right, Dr. Podu.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I know that your organization, you get to have different activities year in, year out to remind Nigerians, remind the government of the need to facilitate the safe release of Leah Sharibu. So how do you intend to carry on to keep demanding for the safe release of Leah Sharibu? Because it is 5 years already, and this administration is leaving in no time. And just like we had mentioned earlier, Dr. Abiola also lent her voice to that one to say that this presidential candidates who are running for office, we haven't necessarily seen any gender sensitivity in them. How do we trust that they will take this and run with? Looking at all of this, how do you feel about it? And where's the driving force to keep demanding for Leah's release?
Thank you very much, and I just appreciate the fact that we have people like the Women Radio who are helping to amplify our voices as we speak about what is happening specifically to Leah Sharibu, and not just for Leah Sharibu, because usually when we mention Leah Sharibu, we say we just have a name that represents all other people in different forms of captivity, as far as they are Nigerians, whether they are Christians, they are Muslims, whether they are women or they are men or they are girls, whoever, as far as you are in Nigeria, this single name, Leah Sharibu, represents all those who are oppressed, either for freedom of religion or education or whatever form of captivity you are in. And the government is supposed to alleviate your your plight, but they are not doing. So once we say Leah Sharibu, let's get it out clear there that is everybody that is represented. Then coming to what we are talking about, yesterday, one of the major core reasons that we gave the candidates that are contesting the presidential campaigns, which is coming in 5 days, is that you have to clearly come out within these days that you have and state to the Nigerian women especially what you are going to do to release Leah. And when we say Leah, like I stress, every other woman in captivity. What are you going to do? What policy will you have on ground? What steps are you going to take? Reassure us before we take our index finger and go to the ballot, because we are ready to go to the ballot to vote the right people who speak the truth, who are willing to go with the plight of Nigerians. So as far as we are concerned, we appreciate Women Radio, we appreciate all other medias, we appreciate all other forms that gives us a platform to be able to elevate our voices, to be able to amplify all the cause and all the fight. With or without money, you are helping us to be able to be heard. And so that is what we will continue to do. That's what we will continue to push. And then, for us, like the foundation, what we are doing, apart from supporting the family, we are reaching out to other girls who were in the same school with Leah and other girls who are in northern Nigeria who are not getting opportunity. We are getting them sponsored in school because we said we must get that education. And the more we are educated as women, especially from northern Nigeria, the more our voices will be heard, and that oppression and suppression and discrimination will be limited. So thank you for giving us this platform. We call on every other person, continue to give us this platform, continue to amplify our voices. We have so many, all the women on this platform, thank you so very much. We are all doing the work, including Mr. Emmanuel. You are a man, but you are also pushing this agenda, and we are all grateful for, the voices that are coming. We need everybody on board. We need everybody.
Yes, it's a collective effort. Everybody still needs to keep talking. Like Asmao mentioned earlier, every one of us is Leah because life happens. It can just be anybody. Think about it. You leave your house one day and you don't come back, or you send a child to school and they come back to tell you, your child is nowhere to be found. Just think about it. Every one of us is Leah. We have this message here. This one says, it is quite heartbreaking that a child who should be protected by her nation is left in the hands of kidnappers. Nigeria has failed these children. If they cared enough, they would have brought her back by now. This comment. Yes, a smile. So coming back to you with your comment of every one of us is Leah. What's the situation like right now in northern Nigeria? Because you mentioned that even before Leah Sharibu and the Chibok girls, there have been series of abduction, but they've not really made noise like this one's due to the increased number as at the time when it happened. So what can we do differently? Because I know there are different organizations into women, peace building and all of that, conflict resolution, but we need more effort.
Okay, thank you so much, Esther.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Biola, Gloria, and Barrister Emmanuel for all this, for your contributions. I think, to be fair to the government, the counter-insurgency measures have been yielding a bit of result.
Okay.
And so we should give them credit for that, but so much more needs to be done in terms of community mobilization, in terms of information sharing or intelligence sharing. The community should also be cooperative with the security agencies to be able to have a kind of safer environment or creating safe spaces for women. And what this insurgency has brought for us in the North is that it has really broadened the civic space for us. Okay. Before now, you find just few NGOs, especially women-led civil society organizations in the North. But the insurgency, because of the issues women are suffering, because of the kind of violence and the sufferings happening in the North, you see a lot of young women now venturing into the civil society space, and then their voices, building their agencies, amplifying their voices to speak for themselves, and not just for or donors or any interest group. They speak for themselves because they are this first kind of respondents in the community, so to say. So if I may say everything good that has come out, not really good, but good in bracket,
to an extent,
commendable, commendable that has emerged out of this entire thing or experience is that Northern women are having a voice. Northern women are standing up for themselves. Northern women are changing the narrative. Before now, even the education, before now, Borno State, for instance, so many out-of-school children. But with the insurgency now, many parents now know the impact of education because most of the insurgents are people that feel education is not important and they saw it firsthand. So many persons, families are even encouraging their children. And the government and other actors, especially the international community, is really subsidizing education and to an extent making education free, especially at the basics. So I think these are the things that have been achieved through that. But so much, like I said, needs to be done. In terms of strategic commitment, when I say strategic commitment at the highest level, where it is much needed at this point in time. Right now, many communities are being resettled or reintegrated, and many people are leaving the camps, going back to the communities. But one mistake that I see that is happening and is going to be counterproductive to what is happening at the moment is the what we call rehabilitation of the ex-insurgents back into the community. Is both a danger to the community and also to the repentant insurgents themselves. Because the communities, if the securities are not there to safeguard those people that have repented and coming back, they will mobilize and start attacking them. And some of them, if they are pressed beyond the walls in the community, they will also want to attack the community. So I think the government should also look at this counter-insurgency measure, to look at how the rehabilitation process, the reintegration process, the resettlement process, the reconstruction process, even the disarmament process, and demobilization processes should be taken very seriously in terms of early recovery, so that what we call building back better will indeed be better for all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Asmao, for your comment. Okay. So I'm going to be asking this one last question. And let me start with Dr. Abiola. Dr. Abiola, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So, looking at everything, the state of security in northern Nigeria, in other parts of the country, and how it has taken so long to bring back Leah Sharibu, do you think Leah Sharibu is still alive?
That's a big question. I think she is still alive, and I have faith that she's still alive. We haven't seen anything that will make us to think to the contrary, that she's dead. So we will continue hoping that she's still alive, and also pressuring the government to use every strategy possible. Every strategy is to, if the danger to one is a danger to a million, to ensure that it gets, she's back. And I think that's the issue. Just as Madam Gloria said, Leah Sharibu is standing for all those who are in captive. She's standing for everyone. So the government should do more to make sure that they ensure that she gets back, and also that all the other girls that are also being held should be returned. There are a lot of things that the government needs to do, but I also think that there are a lot of things that we, as civil society, needs to do. I don't think we are holding the government accountable enough on this issue. We should keep drumming it just like we are doing to the ears of those who want to listen, that our children are still missing. They need to bring them back. Anywhere that a child is missing, it's a threat, to the nation of Nigeria.
I'm holding on to one thing Dr. Abiola said, hope. We're just going to hope. hoping that Leah Sharibu is still alive. Dr. Podu, do you think Leah Sharibu is still alive? I know this is going to be an emotional one for you, knowing that you're very close to the family, but we need to have these conversations.
Absolutely. And we have testimonies of girls that recently escaped, especially less than 5 months, who were in the same camp with Leah.
Okay.
And they are a living testimony, giving us information of Leah is still alive. She has 2 children. She has, in fact, one of the girls was present when she was giving birth to her second baby. And she has been able to escape, and she has given us the full information. So as far as we are concerned, we are so glad and so happy that Leah is alive. So for her, we are waiting for the day God will set her free. But we believe she's alive. And like we prayed yesterday in the church when we organized the program for her to mark her 5th anniversary, all the prayers was that God bring her out with these children, because you have a plan for even these children. You are still, you know exactly what you are doing. We know that there is a day that will come out, that Leah will come out. And these children, when they come out, you will use them. As far as we are concerned, what is happening is forces of darkness. But these children, because they are your creation, you will use them to destroy the forces of darkness. So Leah is alive, as far as we are concerned. And that's the hope that keeps us going, especially the family as well. So
All right. Thank you, Dr. Podu. Again, what I hear is hope, and that's the hope we've been holding on to. Asmao, do you think Leah Sharibu is alive?
If Dr. Gloria says she's alive, yes, I believe she's alive, because she's closer to the family, and I'm sure the kind of information they got from those girls that escaped to buttress the point that Leah is alive. And so it's good news for us to keep hope alive. Okay. That since Leah is alive, one day she will be reunited with us. And that has been our long awaited dream, and we know one day again we'll converge in such a program like this, whereby Leah will be one of the discussants to maybe share experience on how she was able to overcome. Yes, so if I may say.
All right, thank you, Asmao. I'm looking forward to that conversation where Leah would be safe and sound, telling Nigerians of her experience, what she went through. I really cannot wait for that day to come, because each year passes and we're talking about years having to count down. Today, 5 years, 1 day. We don't want to continue this kind of countdown. We don't want to do this anymore. We just want Leah back to her parents, Rebecca and Nathan, for some kind of closure. It's just one case that's lingered for too long. Yes, coming to you, Emmanuel, I know that you have investigators. I know you have you get intel from people. What do you think about this one?
There is no doubt that Leah is alive.
Okay.
We were aware when she delivered the first child, who was a boy, and we're also aware when she delivered the second child, who is a girl. She has been given a Muslim name, as well as her 2 children, and she has acquired a bit of celebrity within the terror camps. Initially, she was badly mistreated by some of the Muslim women, but from what we understand, her condition has improved marginally, if you can call the condition in captivity as an improvement. Now, that said, I just want to challenge us with something a U.S. congressman said. Chris Smith said that he honors Leah because Peter, the apostle of Christ, denied Christ in front of a small girl. And Leah, a small girl, did not deny Christ in front of armed terrorists. That just tells you her epic courage. And my challenge to Nigerians is, as you go to vote this weekend, be like Leah. Be epically courageous. Do not succumb to threats or bribes, which are both done to Leah. She was threatened with death and she refused. She was attempted to be bribed with freedom and she refused. And ultimately, there's nothing more humiliating to these terrorists than the fact that a little child stood up to them with their AK-47s and refused to bow to their evil will.
All right. Yes, it has been one conversation that I would reflect on for days. If there's anything I'm going to pick away, I mean, I have a lot to take away from this conversation. One, the fact that every one of us is Leah. It could be you, it could be anybody. It could be anybody.
Yes.
And another one, hope. We're just going to keep hope alive and keep calling on the government to say we want Leah Sharibu back to her parents, back to her normal life. We have girls who were released from the Chibok girls who were abducted. We have some of them who were released, and some have gone ahead with their education. Some have even graduated. This is the same story that we want to hear for Leah Sharibu. This is what we want to reflect on and say, okay, back when we used to count down, we no longer do this anymore. And Leah will comfortably tell her story, not telling us a sad story, but telling us how this has pushed her to become who she is today. These are the things that we wish for Leah. Thank you so much, my panelists, for being on this conversation today. Thank you for lending your voice, and thank you so much for keeping hope alive, and also remembering this year in, year out, urging other Nigerians around you not to forget Leah Sharibu. Thank you for your voice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And
Thank you.
Thank you. And bye-bye.
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone. God bless.
Thank you. Yes. And after 5 years of broken promises, Women Radio 91.7 continues to call for the safe release of Leah Sharibu. The government must be held accountable for its promises, as they should be kept, and Leah should and must be brought back. Some families are awaiting the safe release of their children. Leah's parents, Rebecca and Nathan, are awaiting her return, and they need closure. We will keep asking, where's Leah Sharibu? I urge us today as Nigerians to keep demanding for the safe release of Leah Sharibu and all our girls still in captivity. Thank you so much. We thank you especially for being a part of this discussion this afternoon on radio, Twitter space. Thank you so much for making our time to lend your voice to call for the safe release of Leah Sharibu. We hope and pray for a change in our security system. Thank you for your text and WhatsApp messages. Thank you for joining the conversation this afternoon. Thanks to the executive producer, Tom Okewale Shonaya, the producer, Elizabeth Akwerigbe, and to everyone who worked behind the scenes to ensure this conversation is a reality. Thank you so much. And yes, do not forget, every one of us is Leah. So lend your voice.